We have some interactive pieces to this. I know we have a small group, but and bear with us if we have any technological issues throughout. But again, I'm Andrew Klein. I've been at ORSP since 2017, and Jennifer Haas is joining. She's actually one of the newer CGSs on the team, so she is braver than I, and agreed to join me today for this presentation. So here is our agenda. We are going to go over kind of an overview of the numbers, how many proposals we submit, what's our volume, what our overall job is here at ORSP, and we're going to be able to kind of zoom out and look at what is research administration and what does our day-to-day look like, who do we work with, and also get into some of the advances and changes recently to research administration, in particular, the integration of the Lehigh Integrated Research Administration System, LIRA, and talk a bit about the life cycle of research administration and what that looks like in our office on a day-to-day. So, and now we are going to turn it, this is the interactive part, so get ready. Jennifer, I'm going to pass it on to you.
So we're gonna ask you to scan this QR code, and you can enter that number at and it'll take you into Slido. So I'll just give you guys a minute to do that. And then we'll have this so we're there. Is everybody in?
All right. So
Okay.
I'll go to the next slide. All right, thank you.
So we're going to ask you to do how many proposals were submitted in fiscal year 2022, and just give your guess, and then we can move on to the next. Okay.
We're moving on.
Yeah, moving on. So we have, how many active externally sponsored awards does Lehigh have?
We're good.
Yep, we're good. So then we'll go, how many, this is the last one that we have. So how many principal investigators are there at Lehigh overseeing these awards? Okay.
All right.
So next slide.
Sorry. There.
No, you're fine. So this is the numbers. These are the actual numbers. So we have in fiscal year 2022, there were 542 proposals that were submitted. We have 666 active awards, and 220 of those are considered new. And we have 244 unique principal investigators here on campus at the moment. Next slide. Yep. So this is our research expense. You can see 90% of our research expense is federal. We have over $40 million from fiscal year 2022. I can't even speak. And then we have other nonprofits. We have state and local governments, and we have a small percentage of industry research expense as well.
And I wanted to add, we did omit the internal research dollars, such as the internal grants from the VPR's office from this. And if you count that and startup funds for faculty, et cetera, there's like another $10 million you could claim as part of the research pot, but this is just externally funded dollars. All right, and transitioning, now looking at our overall system and how we are structured here at ORSP, and this a little bit about our STEM. So we fall under the Office of the Vice Provost for Research. Anand Jagoda is our fearless leader. He's been here with us for about a year now. Time flies. I'm not sure exactly when he started. A year sounds like a good guess. And he is leading our STEM. A little bit about the other parts and how we fit into this. So our role is to do pre and post award management and some of the training and education about some of the new systems like Lero that I mentioned earlier. We have the Office of Research Integrity, which handle all of our human subjects and animal IACUC monitoring. So when faculty need to do human subject research, or they come to campus and they do work with animals, they work with that team to ensure that we are compliant. They also do financial conflicts of interest, and of course, one of the hot topics right now, which is export controls. So certain types of projects with certain external country, international entities are restricted, and so we have to ensure that we are following the terms of the award, and they do a great job with that. The Office of Research Program Development assists faculty with finding funding opportunities, and they manage the internal awards and proposal process. And the Office of Technology Transfer, led by Rick Smith, is involved in all of the patents. So when faculty have an invention, they go and they ensure that it is properly logged in the system. And Rick is always happy to help commercialize these ideas. And it's a lot of red tape and a lot of legal stuff, but it's pretty neat to see some of the inventions that faculty and staff are coming up with on a regular basis. And now for a short video. It's a little bit dated. I will preface it with that, but it's a fun video from Incura, which is one of the major research administration organization. And the sound should work. Someone could give me a thumbs up that it's working. I think we set it up correctly, but here it goes.
Excuse me, ma'am, can I ask you a question? Do you know where I can find some research administrators?
Research administrators?
Yes.
Is there such a thing?
A research administrator. Do you know what that person might do for a living?
Well, I'm not quite sure. There could be a lot of things he could be.
He administrates research for anything.
Have no idea, but do they cost money?
Know where I can find some research administrators? You know any research administrators?
No.
Could you tell me what a research administrator might do?
Look into literature or other functions of a business or company.
Related to research administrators? Do you know what a research administrator does?
As long as they do it in the privacy of their own home, I don't really care.
Eating dinner with research administrators. Would you?
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Do you know what a research administrator does?
Well, I guess he oversees somebody's research.
But I stay away from them.
They make the paperwork flow through the office properly.
A research administrator would be an individual in charge of a group of people that does a lot of research.
At the university setting, they assist principal investigators embark, in research that the university itself embark on.
I'm not sure anybody really knows what they do, to be honest with you.
I would assume that they are one who researches things and governs the other researchers.
Excuse me, sir, you know what a research administrator does? Do you know where I can find some research administrators?
Huh?
Research administrators. I'm looking for some research administrators.
Okay, hold on.
Hey, you, in the hat. Yeah, I'm looking for some research administrators.
No, I certainly don't know where you could find a research administrator by that title.
Got a problem with research administrators?
Yeah, no.
Hey, where do you think they might work?
I'm not really sure.
Really? Okay. Does it sound like something you'd like to do?
Probably not, no.
You basically just said you got a problem with research administrators.
Sounds like to me.
No.
Probably work in a laboratory or a research development center.
Like college departments or something?
All kinds. Archaeological,
I'll go with her answer.
theological,
Right on. All right. High five. She got it.
economic.
Any more logical than that? Where do you think you might find some research administrators?
Oh, you'd absolutely find them in government.
Any university in the U.S.
Oh, really? Yeah. Any other places?
In hospital, absolutely. Hospital, school, trade associations, law firms.
Do you know what a research administrator does?
Well, of course, everybody knows that. That's the stupidest question in the world. They've administrators sponsored programs at colleges, universities, and teaching hospitals. I mean, what a silly question. Who wouldn't know what a research administrator does? They're the most important people in America.
How many miles do you do this?
All right. It holds up. Thanks for that. All right. And now let me see if I can get back to the slides. There we go. So what is research administration? This is kind of an overall map of the pre and post award. And when I say pre, I mean proposals, and post award is usually financial or regulatory oversight of an award. And a bit about the way ORSP is structured is that we are departmentally assigned cradle to grave administrators. So we work with departments from conception. So if somebody has an idea, they say, I'm interested in this particular call that is, this. I saw something online, and there's an activity that there's a due date of June 15th, and we're going to work towards that. And then our role is to help ensure that the proposal itself is reviewed and compliant, and not going to be kicked back by the sponsor as being uncompliant, because that's never, that makes everyone very upset, obviously. And then when the award comes in, we work on negotiating terms sometimes, depending on the type of award. And we make sure that the award is set up in our Lehigh systems for financial systems for monitoring, and review the terms of that award with the principal investigator and the team that oversees it. So we do a bit of everything. So I think that's what this map kind of shows. We work with a lot of people in different offices, including some people in the audience here, it looks like. And so we do everything from manage the charges. Our favorite topic, of course, payroll. We approve payroll for, ensure that there's money available for to pay our students, which is, of course, a big mission of research on campus, is to support the students. And there are, I don't know the number, but there's a lot of students that are supported externally at Lehigh. So yeah, these are just the kind of, I don't want to go into each bubble, but these are the different topics that we're going to get into a bit more in the following slides. All right. So what language are we speaking? What is a sponsored program? So a sponsored program is any externally funded activity governed by terms and conditions specified in an agreement between the sponsor and Lehigh, which is a bit different than, we often get into the debate between something that would come through ORSP versus a development activity such as a gift. A gift by definition is no strings attached. Sometimes it gets a little bit blurry, and some entities try to make things a gift but also want a final report. And by definition, it's not a gift if you want something back from us. So it's one of those things where sometimes we have to work with the sponsor to ensure that a gift is truly a gift and a sponsored activity is truly a sponsored activity. What is a principal investigator? That's the individual at Lehigh having the appropriate qualifications and level of authority and responsibility to direct a project or program to be supported by an award. This is typically a faculty member, but not always. There is a PI. Other staff can be principal investigators, and actually postdocs can even be principal investigators of certain types of programs, but it would require the sign off from the appropriate chair or dean in those cases. What is a CGS? So there's 4 CGSs in this room. So what are we? Sometimes I ask myself that, let's see what we are. Contract and grant specialist in the ORSP is responsible for the pre and post-award administration of a sponsored project. We're assigned to portfolios as mentioned by departments, colleges, and institutes. So that's kind of how we have our different niches within the office here. And what is an NOA? An NOA is a notice of award, and it's a legally binding document issued to Lehigh to support a proposal. NOA is a specific term. It's used, but NOA is kind of like one of those terms like NSF or anything else. This field is chock full of acronyms. So NOA is one of probably 20 that get thrown around constantly. But and FOA is the funding opportunity announcement. That's the other one. So the pre-award one that's used all the time is FOA. NOA is the notice of award. So when the award actually comes in, that's what is that's kind of our roadmap for post-award management. What is a research administrator? So it's anyone from administrative coordinator to vice provost for research who performs administrative maintenance, compliance, review, or oversight of a sponsored program. So that means that research administrators are not only living in ORSP, they are out in the departments, and actually Lehigh is hoping to continue to grow that number across campus and continue to grow the research infrastructure to support ongoing and upcoming projects. So that number is growing, which is exciting. Their departmental roles, their coordinators, business managers, and in the dean's office of the different colleges, there are folks that work in research administration. And of course, there are the centralized roles, the folks here at ORSP, at Research Integrity, at OVPR, and also the Office of Tech Transfer.
So,
all right.
Yep. Now I will take over for a little bit, give Andrew a break, and talk about why we do research. And Lehigh is a prestigious teaching institution, and it's a highly regarded institution. I've heard it referred to as like a little Ivy League college. And so why do we want to do this research? And that is so that we can attract the best faculty and students to our campus. We want to train future scientists and researchers and teachers so that we can keep growing, the STEM fields and all of the fields, education and health, and learn new things. We want to build infrastructure in society and provide a service to society to put those building blocks out there. And then we want to also enhance our institution recognition. For me, the research part of it, I feel like being part of this team, I'm helping and providing a public service. So that was why I chose to go into this field. And it provides for me sense of pride that we're, developing the future every day by doing the research. And so the who of research administration, we serve the faculty. So we help with proposal submission and award management. We serve the institution and the university. So we help facilitate the research, the teaching and public service activities, as well as ensure that our PIs are in compliance. We work with auditors to make sure that we're following all the rules. And then, we also serve the external community that includes our sponsors. And so we're making sure that those public funds, that 90% of federal funds that we get, that's our taxpayer dollars. And so we want to make sure that they're spent correctly, and they're not going where they're not supposed to. So that's really a big part of what we're doing. So yes, I know that we are on emails and phone calls with Department of Energy, with the NSF. Diane, you love your NIH people. So those are, that's kind of who we serve. And then next slide, Andrew. Here at Lehigh, who do we work with? And, this list is probably not all inclusive. There's probably other people that we definitely work with. But, research accounting, research integrity, tech transfer, accounts payable, payroll, the dean's office, the provost's office, general counsel, international affairs, international student success. We kind of touch on almost everybody on the campus. And it's amazing how many people are involved or have a say in research. Back to you, Andrew. I hope you got a break.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we definitely work with, always knew, we were always, I was just trying to figure this out, and I hate to call you out, Winter, but I feel like you helped me, because you're in institutional research, right? You helped me pull numbers fairly recently, and I was like, I knew your name, and I thought,
yeah.
And I was like, where do I know that? Yeah, I was just figuring out, determining. So I'd never worked with your office before then, but it just kind of shows how, we see questions that kind of force us to pivot to learn new areas of campus, which makes the job kind of fun. Because you helped, I forget the, I don't know, we don't need to get into the specifics, but you did help save the day. I remember it was like a last minute request for data, and you did well to help solve the problem. So thank you. So what do we do? I ask myself that every day. What do I do here? No, but I think there's kind of a general, every day is different, which makes this job fun. But here are like the building blocks of what we do for pre and post award. So we help develop budgets and review budgets. We make sure that all the required components for a proposal are in order, and provide feedback to the PI when things are non-compliant. We have to interpret the guidelines, again, from an FOA. A lot of times there are a lot of different requirements for a given call that if one thing is out of whack, you can get returned without review. So that's our role, is we're basically the last line of defense here in the central office to ensure that something is not submitted and returned, because that is a pressure. I've only seen it a couple times in my 5 years here at Lehigh, but it's not. It's the one thing you always want to, you never want to see, obviously. So we interpret guidelines, we ensure the documents are all coordinated and managed correctly, and we assist in meeting deadlines. We have a deadline policy to try to get things here within for 5 days ahead of the actual due date, and that's a work in progress. Diane and I have a $6 million proposal that's going out this afternoon, and we're missing most of it. So that's it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine, but it's you know, it just goes to show you, like, things happen sometimes not according to plan. But we are trying to push our whole culture here to be a bit more proactive, because it allows us, frankly, more time for us to do our job properly, instead of scrambling to make sure it gets submitted. Yeah, so avoid stress for all involved. So we interface with the external agencies or stakeholders, that happens quite frequently. There's a lot of FAQs that come out about certain calls, and there's webinars about, like, for instance, the one that's due today. There were a bunch of webinars involved, and we had to email the National Science Foundation and ask a couple of clarifying questions. So we do interface with the agency to clarify things, especially for those larger, more unique calls. We of course handle post-award stuff. So we do award setups and negotiation. When we do all of our financial and programmatic, all the required post-award, what am I trying to say? Post-award administration, that'll work. And we ensure that, because different agencies require different types of and levels of reporting and frequency of reporting. A lot of agencies require certain types of reports from us, like a progress report every 3 months or every 6 months or every 12 months. So we work with the faculty to ensure that that is delivered correctly. And of course, there are financial reports that have to happen alongside those technical reports. And of course, we do communicate to the community here. We have a new research newsletter that comes out monthly through the VPR's office. So there's just updates about different policy changes that are agency specific or Lehigh specific. And we are developing more and more training for the campus community as a whole, especially in light of the recent integration of LIRA. We have a lot of upcoming trainings to do out in the Lehigh community at large. So what do we do? So we help faculty, PIs, secure and manage grant funding from various sources. Our job is to stay current with the most up-to-date policies. Things at the agencies are always changing. So as soon as you learn something, you have to quickly unlearn it and learn it again. There's always a new form that we have to become expert in so that we can advise faculty to adhere to the new and updated rules. And we serve our researchers so that they can focus on their research. So a big part of our role, of course, is to ensure that faculty and PIs and research staff do not need to go too far into the weeds. And then if they have a question, they know who to reach out to. That's a big source of pride for our office, is that we are always happy to answer a call or answer an email and try to figure out a solution to something. And I feel like problem solving is a big part of our role here. As things pop up, things always pop up. We always see odd questions, you know, and unique scenarios. So it's about interpreting those unique scenarios in a way that would pass an audit. So some of our sponsors are, these are all acronyms, but we'll try to, I'll spell them out for you. That National Science Foundation, Department of Energy, the National Institutes of Health, Department of Defense, which includes Army, Air Force, Navy, Department of Education, NASA, you know what NASA is, and many others. And we work with state sponsors. Atlas, the Department of Transportation is a big player there. We also have a lot of different smaller state programs, the PETA program, the PA Cure program, the PMFI program. There's a lot of interesting state-funded activities to support students to working with companies and developing kind of bridges to local industry. So the state does a good job of sponsoring a lot of neat initiatives. A bunch of nonprofit foundations, the Mellon Foundation, Science Foundation, VentureWell, Industry, this is a little, we do ACT and Air Products. We do have some interaction with them. Not industry sponsors more recently. I feel like we have some more interesting recent ones. Evonik, we have a project sponsored by Google, so that's pretty cool. I don't know. Anyone else? Anyone else? CGS have cool industry sponsors? No, that's okay. All right. This slide wasn't updated for a while, so I wanted to see if there's anything else that was I could update it in real time. And Lehigh also partners with SBDC and the Ben Franklin Technologies. Oh,
what was that, Diane?
Did you mention NOAA? If you did, I missed it. I was just curious. My oceanographer.
Yeah, we do have an oceanographer. What is NOAA state? The National
Oceanic and Atmospheric something or other.
Yeah.
Administration, I think, is the last
Yeah. So there's always a new. Yeah, we always have to learn. Yeah, I mean, as new faculty come on board, obviously we have different little agencies we don't work with a whole lot. Jen, I know you've worked with PCORI now. PCORI is the Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute, which is an entity that frankly Lehigh would have never worked with if not for the recent launch of the College of Health. So there's always a new agency to learn. And that's a big part of our role here is to learn how to work with different sponsors that have sometimes very different terms than others.
Yeah, we're navigating the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection now. So
there you go.
Yeah.
All right. See here. Oh, this is you.
Yes, it's me.
Where's the content? It's gone.
I don't know. Can you click again or I see it there?
Oh, I have to click it. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So you've heard us discuss LERA, which is the Lehigh Integrated Research Administration tool that we have just on March 6th implemented this new system. And previously we had so I was not privy, I was not here prior to the pandemic when I was told that everything was paper-based still here at Lehigh. And the lovely pandemic caused us to have to take paper-based system and make it electronic. So our systems, which I briefly learned at the end of last year, were very clunky. And not always in the right order. So we invested in what is now LERA, which is an online system, which is being used to develop, route, review, and submit sponsored project proposals. This system also communicates directly to some of our federal sponsors through the grants.gov. And it allows all parties involved in the research proposal and even the award setup to be able to see where everything is in the process. So we can create, negotiate, and track agreements. We can set the awards up within LERA. We can create and track our subawards, and we can request modifications within LERA. LERA communicates with Banner, which is our financial system, and also the HR system as well. LERA is a learning. We are all learning ways to use LERA. But I do think that it has provided some transparency to the proposal process and did kind of catapult us into the 21st century. with our systems, because like I said, we had Google Forms and emails, and so that is what Lear is. And the next slide will kind of give you a nice overview of what we see. I know some of you have kind of worked in this already. This is our workspace for a grant proposal, and you can see right here, it shows you exactly where it is in the process. Here's a draft. It goes through a department review where the deans are looking at space requirements, budgetary requirements, making sure nothing's out of the ordinary. Once they sign off on it, it comes to us where we are able to look at all of the documents, make sure everything's in compliance. And then we will be able to submit it. So we can submit via email, we can submit system to system, and sometimes we have to go on other portals. You know, Andrew mentioned Pecori, they have their own portal, so we would take these documents and we will put them directly into that portal, and then we would save any emails. This is the record. And everybody that has access to the proposal, because you can give certain access, you have administrative access, you have the specialist access, and all the deans can see where we are. And it's a great tool also for reporting, to kind of see and keep tabs on how much research is being done, and what's kind of in process, what's not been funded. So it has some great reporting tools as well. And then next slide, Andrew.
Oh, yeah.
So I felt like, you know, and Andrew was, we felt that this slide was a great overview, the life cycle of a sponsored project. You know, ORSP here has a role in basically pretty much every step in this. We don't generally help locate funding opportunities. That's more of a departmental role, and the research, the program development office.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the PI, you know, has an idea. They find the funding opportunities. With our help, they develop and submit the proposal. You know, with a lot of luck, we get that award receipt in, we negotiate it, we accept it. The PI does the work, and they manage and monitor their project. They are the financial manager. They report all of their progress. And then once the funds have been spent and they've completed their timeline, again, with our help, the award will be closed out. And that is, you know, and some of these projects I'm currently working on, we're in the 6th year of an NIH project. So I know some of these, and some awards get renewed. I mean, don't you have a 20-year award, Andrew? I think something that's been going on for like 10 or 15 years.
There are certain mechanisms, like the Department of Energy, if they like your research, I mean, you can fund your whole career. I mean, that's the beauty of it. It's like impossible to get into that particular club. Basically, I think there's like only 2 faculty that have these awards that have gone on. I think the one I have, we're in modification like 13. I think it was initially funded in 2010, and they just keep giving you, you know, they keep funding a lab basically continuously. You have to do a renewal proposal every 4 years, but it has the same actual federal award number that it had when it was issued back in 2010. And I think there's another one. I don't want to guess that. And there's a couple others in that club that have these long-standing Department of Energy awards. So it's pretty neat, yeah. So you know, sometimes they never close. That's actually nice. It makes it easier, I think, for the faculty when things go on forever. They don't have to worry about closeout, and they just keep getting their whatever, you know, $200,000 per year to fund their student and their postdoc and their supplies, et cetera. So yeah, that's a nice award to have. But yeah, I thought this was a kind of a nice snapshot of kind of what the life cycle, and this is like an image that you've probably seen like in like a project management kind of image, but this is something that's very much integrated into what Lyra is and is meant to be on campus. Kind of like it captures everything. It's the record, and it has all of the parts of the research administration process captured in one place instead of in a cabinet or on somebody's work drive in a shared drive somewhere. So it's all in one place. So, are we done? Did we do it?
Well, yeah, we did do
Oh,
it.
no, of course. Yeah, I wanted to end up, no money, no problems. I forgot about the slide. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, as more money comes in, we've got more post-award stuff to worry about. Our job here is to help ensure that we don't get in trouble with the auditors. I'd say, 99.8% of the time when a faculty member or a student or anyone does something that would be seen as by an auditor as an issue or a violation of sorts, it's most of the time it's an honest mistake. But our job is, as kind of the last line of defense, is to ensure that people are being reasonable and they're not charging things. You see things that hit, somebody forgets to switch their number on Amazon. They have multiple cards loaded into Amazon, and instead of charging the correct card, they buy a movie for their kids to watch. But of course they're not doing that on purpose. It's just like an honest mistake. But our job, and that's usually caught at the department before it gets routed here. But those are the types of things that can happen that are very much an honest mistake. And yeah, we're just trying to make sure, and we field questions all the time regarding, just the right way to be stewards of federal money. So that's a big part of our job here, to make sure that faculty stay out of jail, stay on the straight and narrow, and we're here to help. I mean, that's a big part of our job. Is we're not here to slap anyone's hand. We're here to help answer questions and help guide people to ensure that we are compliant and the last thing we want is a major audit finding. And that is a major audit finding means that there is more oversight and more, we lose expanded authority to shift money between categories without asking the sponsor every 12 minutes for permission. It kind of goes back to first grade. You need a permission slip to go to the bathroom. I don't know if they still do that. That's just, but that's, so that's the audit findings are bad, right? We don't want audit findings. So that's our job. And on that note, I know we don't have much time. I think we're probably over time, but do you have any questions for us? Winter, Joe, Kimberly?
I do have a question. It's kind of unrelated, but I'm just curious. I know on a lot of these proposals, at least for like NSF, there are diversity and inclusion components. And I'm curious if your team has like a process. Are you responsible for helping gathering that? Or like, are you sending people to a specific place for that? Or how does that fit into preparing the proposals?
I think it's managed. I mean, we don't have, and this is actually, it's a good question, because we've seen this raised pretty recently about like, should we have centralized language, which might end up being managed by the VPR's office, like Kate Bullard and Jenny Chow in that office. We've been talking about having kind of boilerplate language. I think what ends up happening is someone drafts it and they share it departmentally or college-wide, and I don't know exactly. I know that I've seen that language in a lot of proposals, but in terms of, and I think a lot of it is standardized, but it's not being standardized through our office. And I know, that's a good question, because if somebody comes to us and says, I need this type of language in my proposal, and I simply don't know what to include, I would, at present, probably send them to Kate. because I know she knows who, if she doesn't have it, she would know who to go to. But a
Yeah.
lot of times folks, I think, ask their colleagues for that information.
We've also referred people to Henry Odie.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, exactly. That's good. So I think we refer people out to folks, but we don't have.
Yeah. Sometimes we get those requests, but I know we're not getting all of them. And when it comes to actually like reporting numbers, like representation across the university, that typically should be coming through the Office of Institutional Research.
Okay.
But then like focusing on the content of diversity work, then that's a lot broader net. But I'm curious, I think it's kind of going all over the place. A bunch of different people might be contributing to that. 'Cause sometimes we get requests from all kinds of people and all kinds of roles for that same purpose. So I've just been wondering if there's a way that we can kind of tidy that up and make it a clearer path for people.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot to be, I think that's great. I think that we just have to figure out how, I mean, if we don't get a lot of those requests. I mean, I'm not fielding a lot of them, but yeah, I'm curious, how we would streamline that. Yeah, I think that's great. I think there'll be a question I think we could raise to Henry and Kate. I don't know why maybe Kate's not the right person. I feel like I feel like she would know though, in terms of Kate or Jenny, I know it works with on trying to standardize certain language for proposals. So that would be a good place to start, have that conversation, make sure that there's a resource for that. But I think that makes sense that it would be coming through your office for those updated data, right? I mean, well, because you have to show the a lot of times you have to show the metrics for the previous fiscal year or academic year.
Yeah, it depends. Like sometimes we've had requests for the last 5 years, current 10 years,
Okay.
And sometimes the specific demographic groups of interest vary based on the proposal, the work, and all kinds of stuff. So it is a lot of different things going into play. But I think the general like diversity statement or something addressing that seems to be, I think, fairly common. At least I don't know. You guys see, I just get requests from different places. Makes me think that it must appear.
Yeah, I think what happens, if I had to guess, is that the first time, I think people have when they first do their NSF proposal for the first time, then they probably knock on their neighbor's door and say, what do you do for this? And then they say, oh, I'll send you the text. And I think that they borrow, and they maybe that text that they are borrowing isn't necessarily optimal either. I don't know. So it'd be interesting to know, like, how do we make sure that those that information is the most up-to-date version of that particular boilerplate, and then any particular data needs would be go to you in your office. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was kind of on a whim that I found you for, I forget who asked the question, what faculty, I'd have to look at my email. But the last time you guys were like, you have 24 hours, go, like we need this data for, I think it was a larger program. We were a collaborative non-lead site, and we needed to show as part of the entire proposal what our numbers look like. And I think it was like Arizona, I'd have to look back. It was like Arizona was another site, and we had to show what our metrics look like for as part of that initiative. So I think we were like, you have 24 hours to figure this out. Thank you in advance. And then you got it done really fast, which was great. But it was one of those things that shouldn't be done last minute. I don't know. So I think, it's great. I don't know how we're gonna, so we have to fix that. We'll fix that offline. But I think it can be, so it's a workflow thing that we have to figure out for sure. Any other questions for us? I know, well, I think the next session started at 10, so I'm sorry we went too long. Hey, Joe, you all good?
Great. No, thanks.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah,
everybody.
Joe is one of our departmental research administrators that is doing a great job, and I don't work with at all because I don't work with the College of Arts and Sciences. But I hear good things, Joe, and I appreciate all that you are doing to keep arts and science on, moving forward. So
A
thank
few
you.
years back, we worked on a Josh Agar project.
Really? Okay. Oh man, you were okay, but you were not in that same role.
No, I was on Martin Harmer's NHI team.
Okay. So, okay, now things are starting to come together. Okay.
Yep.
Great. All right.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks.
And thanks, Allison, for helping put this together.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. All right, let me see how to stop. I'm going to stop the recording.